In today's video, we're going to continue on with our lessons with Pythagorean theorem. What we're going to look at today is not finding the hypotenuse like we did in the last lesson. We're going to be talking about finding the length of a leg. Now let's review back to what we talked about the other day. If we're looking at a right triangle, look at my first example right here. We said that this side was leg A. We said this side was leg B. How do we know they're legs? They're the two sides that make up that right angle, okay? The two sides that connect to make a right angle are your two legs, okay? Now, this other third side that's always opposite the right angle, remember we called that the hypotenuse. And we said we call that side C, okay? Because it's just easier to say C than to say hypotenuse, okay? So what's going to happen today's lesson is we're going to know the measurement of the hypotenuse, and we're going to know the measurement of one of the legs. In this case, we know B, which is 15. Now, what we've got to do is find the measurement of the other leg. In this particular example, it's leg A. Okay, so this is going to be very similar to finding C with one step of work that is different. Okay, so I'm going to come right here beside it. The first thing I'm going to do is write down my formula. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Now, I'm going to substitute the 15 and the 17 in their correct spots in the formula. Okay, now we've let this be A. We don't have a number here, so I'm just going to bring down A squared. That's what we're going to be looking for. That's our unknown value. Now, B right here we said is 15 in the example. So I'm going to put plus 15 squared equal to C squared, which is my hypotenuse right here, and that is 17. So I'm going to write down 17 squared. Okay, now if we're thinking about steps right here, our first step was to write the formula. Our second step was to substitute our two sides, known numbers. Now, here's where the work is going to be just a little bit different because I've got to solve this equation for A. Okay, notice the 15 and the 17 squareds, they're on different sides of the equal sign. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do in this next step is I'm going to go ahead and square 15 and I'm going to square 17. Okay, so if I take my calculator and I find 15 squared, it's 225. My other number was 17, so I'm going to square it, and I come up with 289. And I'm going to simplify and put these two numbers back into my formula. Okay, so right here I've got A squared plus, now 15 squared is 225, equal to 17 squared, which is 289. Okay, so what did I do right here? I squared the numbers. Okay, now what I have here is a two-step equation. Okay, I've got to put the 225 over on the right side with the 289. Okay, because I need it with the two numbers on the same side, and I need to move the 225 because the A is squared is on the same side with it. Now, we know if we're going to the opposite side of the equal sign, we're going to do the opposite operation. So this step is going to be subtract. Now, because we're solving the equation right here, some of you are going to want to put in the river. And that's fine if you do. You see my river right there? That doesn't show up very good. Let me grab another color. Okay, so there's the river in there. Now, I'm just going to grab my calculator and do 289 minus 225. So 289 minus 225. And I'm going to get 64 for my answer. So what my next line is going to look like is 64 over here. We know those two are going to cancel each other out, and that leaves me with a squared. Now, so let's see, what did we do right here? We subtracted the leg. The reason I said subtract the leg is what was the 225? That came from the leg right here of 15. Now, I only got one step left because I want to know what A equals, not A squared. Okay, so A is going to be equal to the square root of 64. Now that's the same as before because we know we got to get rid of the squared, and the opposite of squaring something is to take the square root. Okay, now if I actually take the square root of 64, we know that's a whole number 8. So what that means is in my picture over here, that leg A is really going to be 8 units long. Okay, now let's just go back right here to our steps and let's write down what we did here. What did we do? We took the square root. Now, at this point in the video, if you need to stop so that you can finish copying this information down, go ahead and pause the video, copy down your notes, and then you can press play again. Now, in example 2, look at what I'm told. I'm told that C is going to be equal to the 29. This time I'm told this leg right here, and typically we let that one be A. So A is going to be 20. Now I need this bottom one. That's the line, the horizontal side down here at the bottom that's missing a number. So we're going to make that B. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay. The process is going to be exactly the same except for where I put the 20. Okay. Let's see what I mean by that. Let's go right up here. First thing we're going to do is write down our formula. A squared plus B squared equal to C squared. I'm going to substitute in the 20 and the 29 in the correct spot. Now 20 was side A. So I'm going to put 20 squared for A plus, now we decided already that B is what we're looking for, so I'm just going to put B squared equal to, now C over here is 29, so that's going to be 29 squared. Okay. Now, again, our steps are always the same. This is a formula and a procedure. So I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to figure out what 20 squared is and what 29 squared is. So I'm laying my calculator down. 20 squared is going to be 400. 29 squared is going to be 841. So I'm going to slide my calculator out of the way and I'm going to put those two numbers in its appropriate spot. So we said 20 squared was 400. That's plus B squared equal to 29 squared we found was 841. Again, you know, if you like putting in that river like we did with our other equations this year, you can put your river in there. Now, what I see is I got to move the 400 over to the other side. So I'm going to do that by subtracting. Now, we know the 400s are going to cancel each other out. They zero off. And that's going to leave me with b squared equal to, now 841 minus 400 would be 441. You can use your calculator for that if you need to. Now, last step, take the square root. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come right here and I'm going to take the square off the b, because I'm going to take the square root of the 441. Okay? Now, I don't know that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my calculator right here, and I'm going to find the square root of 441, and that comes out to be 21. So when I come back right here, I'm just going to say b is equal to 21 unit long, and I am done. Okay? So again, if I look at my example over here, A is 20 units long, C is 29 units long, and I now know that B has to be 21 units long. Okay? Now, pause your video right here if you need to and finish copying this down in your notes, and then restart your video. Now, example 3 on our notes. This is another one that's missing A because I'm missing this side right here. So I'm missing A, but I know B is the 84, and I know C is going to be the 85. So different numbers, same exact steps. So first thing I'm going to do is write down my formula. A squared plus B squared equal to C squared. Now, I'm missing A, so I'm just going to leave it as A squared plus, now, look right here. B is going to be 84, so I'm putting down 84 squared equal to C is 85 squared. Okay? Now, grabbing my calculator right here, I'm going to figure out what 84 squared and 85 squared is. Okay? I got my calculator. 84 squared, 7,056, and then I got to do 85 squared, and that's 7,225. So now what I'm going to do is slide this out of the way, and I'm going to put those two numbers where they belong. So the next line is going to be A squared plus, now we figured out 84 squared was 7,056 equal to, now 85 squared was 7,225. Okay? Now, I need to move the 7,056 over to the other side. And again, if you have your river in there, I'm going to subtract 7,056 from both sides. Now, on the left side, I'm going to have A squared equal to, now I'm going to grab his calculator because I'm not sure I'm going to try this one without it and go much faster right here. Now, I already have my 7,225 right there, so I'm just going to press subtract 7,056, and that's going to give me a difference of 169. So right here, I'm going to put 169. We know by now, after doing all these problems, that the next step is to take the square root. Now, grab that calculator again. And if I do the square root of 169, it's going to tell me 13. So I now know right here that A is going to be equal to 13. And I'm done. Okay. Again, if you need to, stop and pause the video right here and copy down the rest of the notes and make sure you've got it copied correctly, and then just press start again. Okay. Example 4 at the bottom. It's telling me that A is equal to 9, and it's telling me that C is equal to 41. I am missing B. So this one is going to be like the second example when I'm going to be looking for B, not A. So if I come up here and I write down my formula, a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and do it now so I can keep it down the middle. If I want to put a river in, I can. That's optional. Now I'm going to put the numbers in where they belong. We figured out over here a is 9, so that's 9 squared, plus we're looking for b, so I'm going to keep that as b squared, equal to, now c is 41, so that's going to be 41 squared. Now, we know the next line is going to be simplifying my numbers. Well, I know what 9 squared is. 9 squared is 81. That's within our memorized multiplication facts. But I'm not sure about 41 squared, so I'm going to grab my calculator, and I'm going to do 41 squared. And that's going to give me 1,681. So let's write that down. 1,681. Now, we know again, we got to put the 81 over to the right side. So I'm going to subtract the 81. There we go. Now, the 81s are going to, 81 minus 81 zeros off, cancels out. So I've got b squared equal to, now 1,681 minus 81, that's just going to be 1,600. Okay? I didn't need a calculator for that. Next step is take the square root, 1,600. And let's do that. So I've got second square root, 1,600. And that is going to be equal to 40 on my calculator. So I now know that b is going to equal to 40. Okay. Every example that you work, when they tell you one leg and one hypotenuse, will be worked just like these examples. Now, I do want to make a quick reminder. Not all of your triangles are going to be facing the same way. Remember, we talked about this before. There's different ways they can orient, rotate, reflect, turn around your right triangles. Okay, I'm doing the most 6 common. I didn't do very well making that look like a right angle. Okay, so those are the 6 most common ways that they can give you a right triangle. Now, remember, no matter how it's turned or twisted, your legs are always the sides that make the right angle. So this is always going to be A and B, A and B, A and B, A and B. Now right here, it doesn't really matter. You know, really it doesn't matter which side is A and B as long as you get them together. Okay? Now, the big thing is C. You got to make sure this side that's not part of the right angle, the side that's not one of the sides of the right angle, is C. A and B, you can mix them up and it's not going to change your answer. You just got to have C in the right spot. Okay? Now, you've got all the knowledge you need to find the legs of the missing leg of a right triangle. Get my tongue untied. Okay? Now, you've got everything you need to know to finish your assignment.